Welcome to the cutting edge of the global awakening.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence by the military-industrial complex.
Well, it looks like the North Tower of the World Trade Center has just completely collapsed.
The U.S. dollar's status as the preeminent reserve currency is under attack.
This is a mathematical fact. Tens of trillions of dollars are being extracted from the United States of America.
You really want the truth? Then just follow the money.
Welcome to Follow the Money Radio, a broadcast dedicated to your personal, spiritual, and financial liberty. And now, here's your voice of reason in the midst of global chaos, economist and best-selling author, Jerry Robinson.
Oh, greetings, friends. Welcome. Good Saturday morning to you. So glad that you're tuning in. Well, we have a lot to cover and not very much time to do it. Going to have an abbreviated show this week. We got Tom Cloud lined up. He's going to be, he's warming up in the bullpen. He'll be here to give you an update on gold and silver. Jennifer will be here with our Trigger Trade Report. Jay, as always, will bring his investing idea of the week. And let's just dive right in, shall we? Let's talk about what's been happening. First of all, we saw the total breakdown of the GOP. The total breakdown. It's just really something whenever you consider what the GOP and both the Democratic Party and the GOP did over this debt ceiling debate. Very reckless, very questionable as to what the end goal was, especially when you consider that nothing was changed. But overall, I think those of us who believe in fiscal conservatism, those who believe that you cannot fight a debt problem by creating more debt, agreed in principle with the idea of starving this government beast. But it seems as if our greatest fears were confirmed in the fact that there is not a political will in Washington to stop this train as it heads right towards the cliff. And so it's up to you and I, it's incumbent upon us to take responsibility for our own financial lives. It's important for us to be making plans that will protect us from this out-of-control government. And that is exactly why I wrote the book, Bankruptcy of Our Nation, which, by the way, has been selling like hotcakes on our website. Bankruptcy of Our Nation, Your Financial Survival Guide. I put this book out originally back in 2008. Back then, you know, there was not a lot of people talking, certainly in the media, about many of the things that we talk about in this book. And I put out a revised and updated edition in 2012 and put a lot more solutions in it. And it's available on our website for $12. I think you can buy it on Amazon cheaper and even used. They have a lot of used one on there, so you know you want to save some money. Bankruptcy of Our Nation, I encourage you to pick up a copy of this book. It details exactly what we're going through. It's documenting this downfall of the United States of America. I was reading Barron's earlier this morning. I think it was last week that they had interviewed billionaire investor Jim Rogers, the investor who had partnered up with George Soros back in the day, and they started the Quantum Fund. I think it was back in the 70s. And anyway, they made a lot of money shorting the British pound. Made about $1 billion in a day. Pretty big trade. They broke a lot of currencies in their time. And Jim Rogers has been a very strong bear on the U.S. And he compares the rise of China today to the rise of the United States in the early 20th century. And I've talked about that, obviously, in the book, and I've talked about that even this week in one of the articles that was put out. I believe it was, Thursday's article, Wednesday's article, talking about how the United States is running through the cycle, the normal cycle that all nations go through. It is extraordinary in the heights that it has reached. But no one stays at the zenith of empire forever. America's time in the sun is coming to a close. And we got lots of shots across the bow this week and last week as China, their state-run media propaganda outfit, called for a de-Americanizing of the world. We saw the Telegraph in London, of all places, talking about the sun setting on dollar supremacy. Now, this has been a common theme for the last couple of years. It's been rearing its head every time something like this debt ceiling debate, every time something like this happens, you begin to get a rash of news and a rash of calls and saber rattling saying it's time to get rid of the U.S. dollar as the sole currency for the world. But there are so many things that are coming together right now that make it more unique, that I would say, than ever before, that we are indeed heading towards that time where the U.S. dollar will no longer be the world's reserve currency. Every now and then I'll just stop and I'll take a listen to some of my peers on the radio, listening to some of what other people are saying. And I hear, for example, Glenn Beck, and I hear Alex Jones, and I hear many of these other people talking about where we're heading. And I find myself in disagreement with many of them as far as the end result. The end result, where are we heading? Well, certainly we're heading towards a very economically difficult time for the United States. But if you listen, and I don't have any audio clips to play for you on this, but if you listen to the speeches that are being made, just listen to the speeches that are being made. John Kerry, listen to Benjamin Netanyahu, listen to Vladimir Putin, listen to Hillary Clinton, listen to many of these major global figures, listen to their language, all the folks at the UN, they all use the same phrase, peace and security. Peace and security. Now, some would say that the United States is bent on creating perpetual war around the world, and it wants a complete state of war at all times, and that's its goal. Now, I don't presume to know what they are thinking. I can certainly tell from their actions that they're bloodthirsty. However, I can tell you that based upon this idea or this concept that constantly comes out of their mouths about the peace and security, they're going for peace with Iran, they're going for peace with the Middle East and Israel and Palestine. They want peace and security, and they want it on their terms. And I think this is really where the rubber meets the road, that all of these nations desire peace and security. Who doesn't, right? Who doesn't want peace and security? Who wants perpetual war? I can't imagine anybody who really in their right mind would desire that. But the problem is that these actors around the world, they want peace and security on their terms. They want it to be on their terms. And right now, the United States holds many of the cards, and therefore many of the other actors around the world are not so willing to go along because they realize that they will not have an equal seat at the table. Therefore, before we pull the trigger and create this global peace and security that the United Nations appears to be hell-bent on creating, and the United States and Europe, I mean, we see it with the transatlantic partnership, how the United States and Europe are trying to bridge the divide and create a free trade zone, which is anything but. The Trans-Pacific Partnership between the United States and many of the Pacific Rim countries, the same thing. We see the EU and Canada creating a free trade zone. We see Switzerland and China creating a free trade zone. Well, all of these barriers are coming down. And the goal, as they have stated over and over and over again, is peace and security. This is what they want. It is what motivates them. It is what drives them. And this elusive peace has led the United States and many other nations to create unbelievable surveillance states in an effort to stamp out what they call terrorism, in order to control the citizenry, in order to get details about other countries, in order to share. There is a huge, by the way, there is a huge surveillance information black market that exists for these countries. There is news coming out of Canada that it had been spying on Brazilian companies and then sharing the data with other countries. Now, do you think that they provide that information for free? I doubt it, not in this capitalistic system that we live in. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I provide you some information, you provide me some information. And so they're trying to create this world where they have total control and they have what they call peace and security. But I don't believe that they will ever achieve what it is that they desire. And if they ever do achieve it, it will be very short-lived. But we are living right now in a build-up towards it. We are living in this time where they're saying this is our goal. We want peace and security. We're trying to get peace and security. Everything is being done underneath this cover globally by the globalists. And so in their minds, when they see the TSA or they see the NSA, they think it's a good thing. And they want you to think that it's a good thing. So those are just some differences that I have with some of the things I see out there. It seems as if there is a pervasive idea that somehow if we can, as the American people, rise up and take our country back, somehow that would change the entire course of our country. And the fact of the matter is you cannot change the system because the incentives are wrong. The only way to change the system is not to play musical chairs and not to just put new stooges in. What you have to do is reconstruct the entire thing. You have to deconstruct it and then rebuild the entire system. It has become too easy to buy a congressman. It has become too easy to buy a senator. It has become too easy to get what you want simply by flashing cash in this government that we have today. And these politicians have nothing but an incentive to stay in power, so they say anything as long as they think that it will keep them in power. But the United States is bankrupt. It's not facing bankruptcy. It's not nearing bankruptcy. It is bankrupt, completely bankrupt. Now, a story that came out this week, Washington Times, U.S. debt jumps a record $328 billion, tops $17 trillion for the first time, the national debt. Story reads, U.S. debt jumped a record $328 billion on Thursday, the day the federal government was able to borrow money under the deal President Obama and the Congress sealed this week. The debt now equals $17.075 trillion, according to the figures of the Treasury Department, posted online on Friday. The $328 billion increase shattered the previous high of $238 billion set 2 years ago. Okay, so $328 billion our debt jumped by on Thursday. It's now over $17 trillion that you and I we're on the hook for. And we have some problems with this because, again, China wants our crown. They want to take our place on the global stage. Now, they're still years away from it. But as I had mentioned earlier, Jim Rogers, I was reading an article with him in Barron's, and he had made a very good point. He said during the 19th century, as the United States was rising and ascending to power, they had all kinds of human rights violations. They had 15 different depressions during that time. So it was a very tumultuous time as the United States was coming of age. And we should expect the same thing of China, which is obviously an emerging nation that has the potential to become the next power over the entire world. Right now, as we've talked about, China carries a lot of economic power, economic weight. But one day that translates into political power, into political weight. And that is what the United States enjoys. It enjoys both. China only really has economic power and economic might at this point. The political might is still regionalized. It's just over in that region. It hasn't spread around the globe yet the way the United States has been able to succeed in doing. But China is our number one creditor, and if you saw this week, a Chinese rating agency downgraded the United States debt. That's our number one creditor. And, of course, we're concerned about what Moody's and S&P thinks. I mean, we should. I mean, they still carry some credence. But when China and their rating agencies then downgrade the United States, in essence, what's happening is our number one creditor is saying, we don't trust you as much as we used to. You have lost a part of our trust. And they virtually financed much of our wars during the last decade. And they continue to buy our debt today. But there's a story that is not receiving enough airtime right now, and I want to tell you about it real quickly. The Saudis are very angry. Saudi Arabia turned down a coveted seat at the United Nations Security Council on Friday in a rare display of anger at the failure of the international community to end the war in Syria and act on other Middle East issues, this report coming from Reuters. The kingdom condemned what it calls an international double standard on the Middle East and demanded reforms in the Security Council, which has been at odds on ways to end the fighting in Syria. Now, this is a really big deal because the Saudis are the linchpin that keep our dollar afloat. It is their decision to use the U.S. dollar for all of their oil supplies that keeps the supply, or the demand, I should say, for the U.S. dollar globally intact. Saudi Arabia has been being courted by China. China first went after Saudi Arabia, and whenever they began making oil deals, and they scored a few victories, but not too many. So they turned then to other Middle East countries, and then they finally turned down to Africa, and they have completely infiltrated Africa. But they still want Saudi Arabia. It's the prize. It's the number one oil producer. And if they can get Saudi Arabia to accept Chinese currency for their oil, as opposed to the dollar, then you have a sudden decrease in demand for the dollar. This is what these talking heads on television do not get. I saw a piece in Yahoo Finance this week that said, why the U.S. dollar will always be the reserve currency. Can you imagine a more stupid headline? I mean, that's the dumbest headline I've ever seen. Why the United States will always be the reserve currency? That's like reading a headline back during the Roman Empire that says why the Roman Empire will always be the number one empire, or why the Roman Empire's money, the currency, the denarii, will always be the number one currency. Are you crazy? That's insane. It's an absolute denial of where we are. You will often hear people say that foreign countries hold U.S. dollar reserves as a safe haven because they view it as a safe haven. The United States dollar is anything but a safe haven if you look at it on a chart. And no one who holds a meaningful amount of them believes that they are a safe haven because they have experienced the loss in purchasing power. Now, you have to leave the country to see this loss of purchasing power. You don't see it necessarily here in the United States unless you pay attention to rising prices, which you can see at the grocery store, or you can see at the movie theaters, or wherever you go. You'll see the inflation is creeping up because more money's in the system and it creates higher prices. That's how higher prices occur. So there is this global battle being waged today, and it has never been more fierce than it is right now in 2013 here in the fall. The barbarians are at the gate, and the United States dollar is going to be the casualty of this currency war that we're seeing. But the Saudis are mad. They're angry. They're angry that the United States did not attack Syria. They support the rebels there. They want to see Syria gone, and they're livid. I mean, they are absolutely livid that the United States would even consider making peace with its arch enemy, Iran. News came out this week, and it seemed to be salve on the wound for Saudi Arabia. Headlines saying Pentagon to sell bunker busters, cruise missiles to Gulf monarchies in $11 billion deal. Pentagon plans to sell $10.8 billion worth of advanced weaponry to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The hardware includes bunker buster bombs and cruise missiles. So this is the deal that the Saudis get out of the petrodollar system. They use oil, or they use dollars for their oil. They accept dollars for their oil. And we, in return, provide them with as many weapons as their little hearts desire. Never mind that 15 of the 19 hijackers from 9/11 came from Saudi Arabia. Never mind that the America's boogeyman, whose body was riddled with bullets in his compound by SEAL Team 6, and then his body was mysteriously dumped into the ocean, so we have no body. Never mind that he comes from Saudi Arabia. Never mind that there are basically no human rights in Saudi Arabia. All that matters is that Saudi Arabia uses the dollar and its oil. And if Iran will concur with this, they can be our friend too. We'll sell weapons to Iran. I guarantee this. Iran has a lot of power over the United States at this point. The dollar needs more demand, and Iran can provide that demand, or it can provide that demand to the Chinese yuan, as it is currently doing. The United States desperately wants Iran to accept U.S. dollars for its oil exclusively, the same way that the Saudis have. And see, Saudi Arabia does not want Iran getting this same deal. The Saudis hate Iran. They represent the polar opposite side of Islam, the Sunni and the Shia divide. But it's not just that. There are deep philosophical differences about how to govern the Middle East. And the Saudis and Iran differ greatly upon how the Middle East should be ruled. So as an observer of the U.S. economy, as an investor in the global economy, I pay very close attention to Saudi Arabia. In fact, probably more attention to Saudi Arabia than almost any other country on the planet, because of the very unique arrangement that they have with the United States. They are the Achilles heel of this country. If they turn, if there is a rebellious force that breaks out, if there is a coup, if they suddenly become extremely hostile in the upper regions of the government towards the United States, the economy here in the United States will suffer the repercussions. This is the thing that really doesn't get any media coverage, this idea that should the Fed print, should it not print? The point is that, A, the Federal Reserve does not have any option. It has to buy the bonds that are not being bought. It is the lender of last resort. And the United States wants to borrow so much right now that it does need support from the Federal Reserve in order to monetize that debt. But the missing piece, or the missing puzzle piece that we never really hear about in the media or in the financial press, is the fact that the reason that the Fed can continue to print these dollars and put them into circulation is because there is a global demand for dollars. This global demand for dollars is not a right. It is not something that is going to always continue. The day is coming, and I don't have a date, but the day is coming when the Saudis kick out the chair from underneath us, and we are suddenly left holding the bag. The Chinese are playing their cards very wisely. And the United States, while it has been brilliant in the past, you have to admit this government today, well, we want to be careful what we call them. But I would not use the word brilliant, that is for sure. And there are new reports coming out that the big money is turning its eyes outside of the United States for next year. We're going to see a lot of foreign investment by top investors coming in 2014 as money begins to move outside. Look at Europe, for example. Europe is doing astonishingly well. Remember all of the bears about Europe back on this program back in 2010, 2011? We had numerous guests on telling us how the euro was going to collapse, and I clashed with them and said, of course, no, it's not going to collapse. The euro is not going to collapse. Why won't the euro collapse? Because the euro is not just a currency. It is a framework. It is an ideal. It represents a concept that the globalists want to achieve in other places, and they will do whatever it takes to hold it together because they realize that it is much easier to hold the European countries together than it is to hold the entire world together. But if they can never hold the European countries together, how will they ever be able to hope to hold the world together? Therefore, Europe becomes the prototype. Europe becomes the guinea pig. Europe becomes the region where we take all of these different languages, all of these different currencies, all of these different interest rate regimes, all of these different languages, and we bring them all together like the Tower of Babel. And we say, here is your currency, here are your monetary policies, this is it, here is your interest rate, and they force them to unite. Now, we're seeing a backlash against that, and I think we will. I was very surprised that Angela Merkel was able to hold on to her seat in Germany as the Chancellor of Germany, because there is a rising anti-EU sentiment within Europe. These people are very angry that they've lost their sovereignty. They're very angry that they don't control their monetary policy anymore. They're very angry that they are having to pay for the debts for their neighbors. But Europe is the prototype. It is the example that the globalists are going to use, and they're trying to do the same thing in Africa, the African Union. They're trying to do the same thing in Asia, which is going to be immensely difficult. They're doing something similar now with the transatlantic union between the United States and Europe. But the point of me saying all that is that Europe in their stock market have been doing very well. Ireland is up 51% over the last 12 months. Spain up 30-some-odd% over the last 12 months. I mean, you just go through the list, and you'll find that most of these European countries are beating the snot out of the United States stock market. Warren Buffett has already said he's moving his money over there. He invested almost $2 billion in Europe last year, or perhaps it was the year before. And Europe has been experiencing its largest inflows over the last 15 weeks than it has in the last 11 years, as far as a record. The last 15 straight weeks we have seen major, massive capital inflows going into the European stock markets in a way we have not seen in 11 years. Investors are looking for something different. They're losing faith in the United States. And it will only be the foolish among us who refuse to see the handwriting on the wall, to see what lies ahead. Don't be fooled by this market. The market is spiking higher. We see all of this euphoria about how QE3 is going to continue and how now we have a debt ceiling solution for the next 2 months, 3 months. Folks, nothing has changed. The fundamentals of the economy have not changed. The terrible, flawed currency of the United States dollar has not changed. Federal Reserve policy has not changed. Washington's reckless spending has not changed. The handwriting is on the wall, and the days of American supremacy are numbered.
Follow the Money Weekly presents your precious metals market update. Here's Tom Cloud.
Well, Jerry, it's a very perplexing week. I mean, certainly we've seen the $60 jump in gold and silver about $1.50 since the deal was announced by the Senate and Congress. But all they've done is kick the can down the road to January 15th for the budget and February the 7th for closing the government again with debt ceiling. But what people may or may not know out there is embedded in this bill is Obama now has the right. He does not need the approval of Senate and Congress anymore. He can go in and authorize $2 trillion of money without the authorization. It would take 2/3 vote in the Senate and Congress to overthrow that. So we're in much worse shape today than this country's ever been in history, including the Great Depression, because the amount of money that's out there being created. And you can bet one thing, the dollar will crash. There's not anybody out there that can tell me the dollar's not going to crash. Overnight, last night, we saw the Chinese downgrade the U.S. debt, and that was part of what made gold and silver jump so much on Thursday. And it's now on the verge of breaking support around 79. And if it goes down, we could see the mid-70s or all the way back to 72. And certainly, if that happens, you're going to see people exiting these bonds and the government having to print them much faster than now. But the key thing we have to watch, Jerry, we've talked about it, but now it's pretty much a done deal, is the dollar is going to surrender itself as the world reserve currency and the petrodollar currency that you've talked about in presentations for 2.5 years. And, I mean, we are really almost there. The Chinese are almost ready, and they've already got quite a few countries that are doing trades in the yuan, and we're just now getting ready to see this thing in 2014, in my opinion, is when the dollar really heads to its deathbed. Also, if our listeners have not been following, we're seeing this 10% bail-in possibility over in England that has now been reported, and we're now seeing a confidential memo within Chase Bank that's circulating showing that on November 17th, you can no longer wire money out, and Chase has stopped how much cash you can withdraw from the banking system. Things are moving so fast and so scary. I mean, to me, I sit here, and I don't know why, my phone's ringing, but not ringing off the hook with people moving money out. This isn't a deal about whether gold goes up or down 5% from here. This is a deal about not losing your deposits in the bank. And I can guarantee anybody that is going to happen at some point. Some percentage of what you have in the bank will be gone. And I can't tell you a percentage because I don't have any idea. But it's just gotten so serious in this country as it's nosedived. When you see 82 senators vote for a piece of legislation to increase the debt ceiling another $1 trillion, you've got to know that this is a very sick sick place to live, and on talking about people that get on drugs and become addicts. I mean, we are the biggest addicts in world history on printing money and giving it away. Nobody wants to work anymore, and of course, everybody wants what started out as a savings plan and Social Security to keep it as a sacred cow. But certainly now it's not what it was set out, where people could set aside money for retirement, because all the money now goes to anybody, whether they put money in or not. They certainly may get different amounts, but they're still getting money they never put in to the system. So the system's gone awry, and it's going more awry every day. And rather than sit here and talk about, gold and silver specifically for the next week, all I can tell you, there'll be a day between now and the end of 2014. And the reason I keep saying that, there is an election next year, and Obama does have to keep things halfway sane to try to get control of the House. And then from November 2014 to the end of his term in 2016, you're going to see things that you can't even comprehend, and we'll be following up on those things as we go along. But right now, you just need to keep your eye on the dollar, and as the dollar value goes down, that's going to cause bank problems, bail-ins, other places in the world. So the best thing I tell each one of you today is follow that dollar. It's broken below 80 on the world index, and follow it closely. If anybody needs to talk to me about gold and silver or diamonds, we're getting a lot of diamond interest for big investors who want portable wealth that is liquid anywhere in the world. We have seen an increase in diamonds dramatically the last 2 months. So anyway, I'm happy to talk to you. I can be reached at 800-247-2812. That's 800-247-2812. If you're not on our email distribution list, we send out a couple, 2 or 3 email blasts a week. You can go to ftmdaily.com and sign up on the precious metals button, and we do keep it confidential. We don't share our list with anyone, so it's completely confidential. If you don't like what you see, you can unsubscribe. With this week's Precious Metals Market Update, this is Tom Cloud signing out.
Hey friends, this is Jerry Robinson from Follow the Money Weekly. Recently, we have been receiving many emails from our listeners commenting on the great help they're getting from our precious metals expert, Tom Cloud. Gold and silver are excellent hedges against the growing threat of coming U.S. inflation. Who's your gold guy? Make it Tom Cloud. With over 30 years experience with precious metals, Tom will answer all of your questions. Don't buy your gold and silver through some call center and pay inflated prices. Call my good friend Tom Cloud and speak directly with him and get all of your questions answered. For a limited time, Tom is offering free shipping and insurance on every gold and silver purchase made by our listeners. Call 800-247-2812. And when you do, tell him that Jerry Robinson from Follow the Money Weekly sent you, and he'll throw in that free shipping and insurance on your entire order. Call your gold guy, Tom Cloud, right now for the very best deals on gold and silver coins. 800-247-2812. That is 800-247-2812.
Hi friends, Jerry Robinson here. Many of you know that I have been running several successful online businesses for years. And one of the things that I like about doing business online is that it's cheap. In fact, anyone can get started simply by purchasing a domain name and a web hosting plan. But how exactly do you get started? Well, just go where I go, dirtcheapwebhosting.net. That's right, dirtcheapwebhosting.net. It does not matter what you're looking for because they have it all. Domain names as low as $1.99, web hosting plans as low as $3.99 per month, and you can even start your own online store for as little as $9.99 per month. And if you need help building your own website, just use their free design wizard and you can be up and running in no time with your very own beautifully designed website. Friends, it's time to get online. Start a blog, start an online business, start something. Log on now to dirtcheapwebhosting.net and get your own website set up right now for just a few dollars per month. dirtcheapwebhosting.net. Everything you need to get started online, only cheaper.
With this week's Trigger Trade Report, I'm Jennifer Robinson. Well, we didn't have too much action in the trigger trading portfolio this week. We did sell ticker symbol GLL Wednesday for a gain of 3.09%. We still have 4 stocks awaiting Jerry's trigger price. As you know, the week was filled with uncertainty surrounding Washington, the government shutdown, and the debt ceiling limit. Of course, all of those things were temporarily resolved, which gave the markets a nice boost for the week. We decided on the 16th, which was Wednesday, to even stay out of the markets in our trigger trading portfolio. We decided that the uncertainty impacting the markets due to all of the chaos in Washington was not worth getting into the markets that day. One of our trading ideas, ticker symbol EGOV, was up 8.5% in a single day, which was on Friday. However, one of our trading rules is that we never buy a stock in the first 30 minutes of the trading day, and it just so happened that EGOV surpassed its trigger price during the first 30 minutes. However, you never know if that's going to be a false momentum during the first 30 minutes, so we stayed out, and usually it pays off. This time the stock continued to rise higher, but we always stick to our trading rules. Trigger trading is a service we offer all of our FTM insiders, in which Jerry provides a stock or ETF trading idea every single day of the week, complete with trigger price, stop loss price, commentaries, and daily status updates. You can learn more at www.ftmdaily.com/trigger trade.
Jay Peroni, certified financial planner, here with the idea of the week. This week we'll take a look at how investing begins with research. Stocks that are red hot can often fall as quickly as they went up. You have to be very careful. You're better off finding good companies and strong industries that have been consistent winners. You can outperform professional investors when you follow a smaller number of companies and truly understand what they do. Behind every stock, there's a company and a story. By doing your homework, you can find out what a particular company is doing and if it's a viable investment option. To be optimally diversified, you need to own at least 8 to 20 companies. If you can't find any companies you think are attractive, you're better off keeping it in cash. Investing for the sake of investing is just plain foolish. Wait for the right opportunity. During one of my weekly market reviews for clients, I highlighted some of the current market opportunities around the globe. Here's what I shared. Based on institutional buying, option activity, and a number of other factors, here are some opportunities right now in various sectors and countries with great upside potential. Some of the countries I like are the emerging markets, the United States. Some of the sectors I highlighted were semiconductors, financials, and energy. And then in the fixed income arena, I suggested possibly shorting long-term bonds. As an investor, I admit I utilize fundamental analysis more than I use technicals. Fundamental research is my specialty and how I found a way to deliver consistent long-term winners. To find winning investment ideas, I start with sector analysis, looking for strong sectors, followed by individual company analysis, looking for strong companies. When I approach investing, I search sector by sector and select my best ideas within each category. In order to determine which sectors I view as strong, I look to have a good portion of my portfolio in industries that are rapidly expanding and less exposure in industries that are contracting. On my list right now are semiconductors. This is a rapidly expanding industry, and prices for many within the industry are quite attractive right now. Within the category, one of my favorite stocks is Microchip Technology, ticker symbol MCHP. It develops and manufactures specialized semiconductor products used by its customers for a wide variety of embedded control applications. Its product portfolio comprises of microcontrollers, application-specific standard products, and related mixed signal and memory products. The company markets its products to the consumer, automotive, office automation, communications, and industrial markets, so it's very well diversified. Some of the key opportunities in the weeks and months ahead for investors, it sells to tens of thousands of end customers, so it's not overly dependent on sales to any one client or market segment. I love diversification. Number 2, it focuses on microcontrollers, which give it an advantage over larger competitors where microcontrollers are a less important piece of their larger business. And number 3, it has one of the highest dividend yields in the chip sector. It currently has a 3.6% dividend yield, and it's raised its dividend every year since 2002. So that's 11 straight years. The bottom line, Microchip Technology, ticker symbol MCHP, is a part of our all-weather strategy, which focuses on stocks which can do well in both good and bad markets. Microchip has produced nearly 14% per year in annual returns over the past 15 years and should continue to be a strong performer. It's a good buy up to $45 a share, and this one should hit 50 to 55 over the next 12 to 18 months, representing a potential 20 to 25% gain from the current prices. This is Jay Peroni, Certified Financial Planner, signing off for the Idea of the Week. We'll see you again next week.
All right, well, Jay Peroni is a CFP Certified Financial Planner, a member of our Christian Financial Advisor Network, and he also manages our very own PACE investment portfolio. If you would like to have a 30-minute review of your investments with Jay, you can call him at 888-664-6963. That's 888-664-6963. And when you do, be sure to tell him you heard about him on Follow the Money Weekly Radio.
Well, this week we have our brand new FTM quarterly newsletter that's coming out for all of our FTM insiders. It should be out toward the end of the week, jam-packed with lots of information. Can't wait for this one to come out. So be looking for that, all of our FTM insiders. And I want to encourage you, if you're not currently an FTM insider, to consider becoming one. This is a perfect time with our FTM quarterly newsletter coming out. Lots of information there. Also, our FTM Income University. This is really big. We are going every single week and taking on a brand new income stream for 22 weeks in a row, covering all 22 different income streams. So this would be something that if you're looking to increase your income, what a great way to do it for only $19.95 a month. Great investment into yourself. Education is the key to getting ahead in this economy. But as an FTM insider, you receive our exclusive market conditions indicator system. So every time a new signal comes out in the overall market, the broad market, you receive an email alert letting you know it's a red light, green light, yellow light system. You also can receive our daily stock trading ideas every single day of the week. We do our trigger trade report, and a new trading idea is sent out via email to all of our FTM insiders. A lot of people pay a lot of money for this type of service, and it comes exclusively with all FTM Insider subscriptions. It's a fantastic deal. I cannot promise how long this price is going to remain at $19.95. We no doubt are going to be raising it in the near future. Don't have a date on it yet. But anyway, if you sign up at $19.95, you stay locked in at $19.95 forever. For as long as you'd like, you have a right to receive it at that price as long as you maintain your subscription. If you do cancel it, of course, you have to come back at the higher price. We also have access to our subscriber-only area where you'll get access to our PACE investment portfolio along with real-time alerts on that. We also have buy and sell email alerts sent out by email for our PACE investment portfolio. You also get occasional market commentaries from myself. You get a free copy of our book, Bankruptcy of Our Nation, and just so much more. I think it's a great value for only $199 or $19.95 per month. And if you look online, there should be a coupon code out there. Go on Google. You can find it. I know it changes every now and then. Our system does provide a coupon code for you to use, so I would encourage you, those of you who want to save a little bit of money, use that coupon code whenever you sign up. But we have already covered in our Income University 401ks, IRAs, how to maximize these. We've talked about pension plans. We've talked about Social Security. But all of what I call the fun income streams still lie ahead. We still have the affiliate marketing, where I'm going to show you exactly how I've set up numerous, I'm talking dozens of different websites that drive an income every single month for my wife and I. If you have time but not money, this is a fantastic skill to learn, and it will really revolutionize your income. We're going to talk about rental real estate, wholesaling real estate. We're going to talk about selling information. We're going to talk about royalties and patent income. All kinds of good ideas that you'll have access to as an FTM Insider, and you'll have access to that forever as long as you're a part of our FTM Insider community. But we have heard from so many of you about our daily trading ideas, many of you who have said they've been very helpful to you, the charting that we do. All of that is all included, and I want to thank all of our current FTM Insiders for supporting our work here and becoming a part of our community. Our hope is that we can really turn this into a community of people who are like-minded and want to help each other, because you know it's going to get worse. Times are not going to always be this good. Some people say, well, it's not very good now. Well, if you think it's not very good now, just wait for about another decade, and you'll see what happens to this country as we collapse underneath the weight of debt that we have stored up for our children and our grandchildren, as the politicians love to say. They love to use that phrase. But regardless, we want you to become a part of our FTM Insider community and invest in your own financial education. It is the key to success in this current economy. And as you know, every week I like to leave you with a final word, something to take away from the program. It says in Luke chapter 16, verse 10, here is your word for the week: he who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful also in much. But he who is unrighteous in a very little thing is unrighteous also in much. The key to getting more is to be faithful with what you already have. How are you stewarding your money today? Are you being wise and faithful, or are you being foolish and unfaithful? A powerful word from the lips of the Master himself, Jesus Christ. And as always, thanks for letting me be a part of your life each and every weekend. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of your life right here on this program every single Saturday morning. Remember, when you want the truth, just follow the money. Have a safe and prosperous week, and I'll see you right back here next weekend. God bless.